The male assistant, with his arm around the CEO's wife's shoulder, reported, President Su, Mr.Gu has agreed to leave without taking a single penny. The company is ours now. She slammed her hand on the table and roared. I just wanted to warn him. Who told you to do this? I stood outside the conference room door. Zhao Xingzu's hand on my wife's shoulder. His voice wasn't loud, but I heard him clearly. President Su, Mr.Gu has agreed to leave the company without taking any benefits. So it's ours too. The next second, Su Wanqing slammed her hand on the table again. I just wanted to warn him. Who told you to go this far? The conference room was silent for 2 seconds. I didn't open the door. I lowered my head, saved the recording to my phone, and then took a picture of the spread out documents through the crack in the door. The document titles were very eye-catching: divorce agreement, equity transfer confirmation, and permanent waiver of core technology licensing. All 3 documents had my signature, but I knew very well that I had never signed the last waiver. I gripped my phone tightly and turned to walk towards the end of the corridor. Zhao Xingzu's deep voice came from behind me. President Su, it's too late now. You can't be soft-hearted. Gu Yuan has been supported by you all these years. Hasn't he? Where else can he go if he leaves the Su family? Su Wanqing didn't immediately refute. That silence hurt me more than the sound of her slamming the table. We've been married for 7 years. Su's technology has grown from a small rented office into a company valued at $2.7 billion. This is the first version of the Cloud Hub system I wrote over 49 consecutive days. For the first batch of clients, we visited each company one by one, knocking on every door. When her first round of financing failed, I sold my father's old house to pay employee salaries. But now, in her assistant's words, I'm just a man she's always supported. I wasn't angry then. Anger is too cheap. I stepped into the elevator and pressed the button for B1. My phone vibrated. It was a message from Zhao Xingzu, Mr.Gu. The agreement has taken effect. Please move out of President Su's villa before tonight. Also, don't drive the Bentley into the underground garage, that's company property. I stared at that line of text and couldn't help but chuckle. He didn't know that the Bentley was bought with my patent dividends. He also didn't know that all the technology in Su's Technologies core system was only granted a marital right of use, not permanent ownership. The elevator reached B1. I walked to the car, opened the glove box, and took out a black hard drive. Inside were all the original technical documents, scanned copies of contracts, supplementary investor agreements, and the marital cooperation memorandum I signed with Su Wanqing at the time. The memorandum clearly stated, if the marriage is dissolved, Gu Yuan has the right to immediately terminate the free license for the cloud pivot system. If Su's technology maliciously transfers, forges signatures, or forcibly relinquishes its technical rights, the license will automatically become invalid. I put the hard drive in my pocket and was about to close the car door when Lao Han called. Lao Han was the CFO, one of the few people who had gone through the difficult early days of our startup. His voice was low. Gu Yuan, did you sign the agreement? I signed the divorce agreement and the property division agreement, but not the technology exemption agreement. Lao Han was silent for a few seconds. But Zhao Xingzu just told the finance department to cut your system maintenance fees and remove you from the joint bank account. I looked towards the garage exit. Who approved it? President Su's electronic signature. I asked. Timestamp. 20 minutes ago. I closed my eyes. 20 minutes ago. Su Wanqing was still in that conference room. She knew what Zhao Xingzu was doing. Perhaps she didn't understand the consequences, but she still gave it her permission. I said, Old Han, back up the approval record and send it to my private email. Old Han lowered his voice. Are you planning to use nuclear weapons? I opened the car door. I'm not trying to cause trouble. They've blocked all my escape routes. When I returned to the villa, Su Man was already sitting on the living room sofa. She was Su Wanqing's mother. 7 years ago, she looked down on me for having no background. 7 years later, she looked down on me for having no fame. She didn't even lift her eyelids when she saw me come in. Gu Yuan, I've had the maid help you pack your things. Stop making a fuss. Wanqing left you 300,000 yuan. That's enough to save face. I looked at the corner of the living room. The maids were stuffing my books, clothes, and computer into a cardboard box. A white label on the box read, Mr.Gu's old belongings. I walked over and picked up my laptop. Sue Man sneered. This computer was issued by the company, wasn't it? I turned to look at her. I bought it the year I graduated from university. Her face stiffened. Zhao Xingzu came downstairs, carrying my cufflink box. Mr.Gu. Don't misunderstand. Andy just doesn't want you to take things you shouldn't. I looked at him. Like what? He opened the cufflink box. Inside was a pair of silver cufflinks, personally put on me by Su Wanqing on our wedding day. Zhao Xingzu sneered. Like the dignity of the Su family. I didn't answer, but quickly took out my phone and snapped a picture of the living room. Su Man immediately frowned. What are you filming? Checking my personal belongings. Zhao Xingzu stepped forward, reaching for my phone. I dodged to the side. His smile instantly turning cold. Gu Yuan. The agreement is signed. Don't pretend you're still tough. President Su doesn't want to see you right now. The more you mess things up, the more she'll look down on you. I met his gaze. Who told you I wanted to see her? Zhao Xingzu was stunned. I dragged over an empty suitcase containing only 3 things, my father's pen, the old laptop, and the original contract I'd taken from the office safe. Su Man's face flashed with smugness when she saw how little I had. At least you know when to back down. I picked up the suitcase and headed for the door. Just as I reached the door, Su Wanqing's car pulled in. She hurriedly got out, her high heels clicking irregularly on the cobblestones. Her eyes flickered noticeably when she saw the suitcase in my hand. Gu Yuan. I stopped. She looked at the suitcase. Then at Zhao Xingzu. Who told you to kick him out now? Su Man stood up. It was me. You're divorced. Why did you let him stay overnight and cause such a commotion? Zhao Xingzu immediately lowered his head. President Su. I'm just following procedure. Su Wanqing's face darkened. She walked up to me and lowered her voice, saying, regarding the agreement, I just want you to compromise. You've neglected the company lately. And the board has been complaining. I need your cooperation to stabilize the situation. I looked at her. So, you had your assistant draft a divorce agreement. She frowned. I didn't expect him to include taking nothing and giving up the technology, but you actually signed it. Her eyes flickered. I held my phone up to her. The screen showed a financial control change application approved by Su Wanqing. Her lips parted slightly. That was Xingzu's idea. He said we must control the risks first. I didn't look at it carefully. Zhao Xingzu immediately interjected. President Su. I was thinking about the company. Mr.Gu recently had a private meeting with Qin Yu. And I was worried he would take the core technology with him. I turned to him. You mean I took the core technology? Zhao Xingzu raised his chin. Did I say something wrong? You copied documents from the company today. The surveillance cameras caught it. I smiled. Are you sure? A hint of smugness flashed in his eyes. Of course. Su Wanqing looked at me, her voice lowering. Gu Yuan. What exactly did you take? The moment those words left her lips, the wind in the yard seemed to stop. I looked at her. 7 years of marriage. And she hadn't even asked if I'd been framed, but instead directly asked what I'd taken. I nodded. Okay. I put the cardboard box in the back seat. The meeting was at 9 tomorrow morning. Su Wanqing frowned. What do you mean? I closed the car door. Didn't you say the company was now yours? I glanced at Zhao Xingzu. Then let the board decide who the company belongs to. As I drove away, Su Wanqing was still standing there in the rearview mirror. Zhao Xingzu was talking to her. She didn't chase after me. My phone rang again. Lin Jisha sent a message. Mr.Gu. I've discovered some traces. There are signs of tampering on the signature page of the technology exemption statement. Below was a scanned image. The evidence highlighted in red. I pulled the car over to the side of the road and replied. Bring the original to the board meeting tomorrow. Lin Jisha quickly replied. Understood. Also, Zhao Xingzu contacted the notary office tonight, wanting to change the date on a power of attorney back to its original date. I stared at the screen, my eyes turning cold. He didn't just want me to realize my place, he wanted to bury me completely. I restarted the car. The headlights pierced the night sky. This time, I wouldn't hide in the shadows. The next morning at 8:30, I walked into the Sue's technology company building. The receptionist froze when she saw me. Instinctively standing up. Mr.Gu. You're coming to work today again. I glanced at her name tag, new employee. It wasn't surprising she didn't recognize me. The company had grown too fast in the past 2 years. Many people only knew Su Wanqing as the CEO and Zhao Xingzu as her most capable assistant. As for me, in their eyes, I was probably just the CEO's husband. A man who rarely showed his face. Taciturn. And washed up and incompetent. I nodded. Which floor is the meeting room on? The receptionist hesitated. 26th floor. But Assistant Zhao said you no longer have access to the executive area. As soon as she finished speaking, the revolving door beeped with a red alert. My access card had been cancelled. Several employees nearby stopped in their tracks. Someone whispered. They really are divorced. I heard he came back empty-handed. Assistant Zhao issued an internal memo yesterday saying Mr.Gu would no longer be involved in company affairs. What was he doing here? Causing trouble. I didn't turn around and dial Chen Yu's number. Chen Yu was the technical director. Someone I had personally trained. The call connected. And his first words were urgent. Brother Yen. I'm upstairs. Zhao Xingzu won't let me come down to pick you up. He said you've been removed from the system whitelist. I stared at the revolving door. Who removed me? The IT department. Following Zhao Xingzu's email. But the approval email was copied to President Su. It's Su Wanqing again, I said. Open the visitor access. Chen Yu paused for 2 seconds. The visitor access is also closed. I chuckled and then opened the emergency maintenance channel. Silence on the other end of the line. Chen Yu lowered his voice. Brother Yen. That's the highest level of access. Only the initial system administrator can open it. Then I order you to open it. 3 seconds later. The oldest gray door next to the revolving door lit up with a green light. Beep, the entire lobby fell silent. The receptionist's eyes widened. Several employees' faces changed as well. I pushed open the door and went inside. Zhao Xingzu was already waiting by the elevator. He was wearing a dark gray suit today. His hair neatly combed. Seeing me, he smiled politely. Mr.Gu. It might not be appropriate for you to force your way into the company. I paused. I entered the company I helped found based on my own merit. What's wrong with that? A cold glint flashed in his eyes. Su's Technology is President Su's company. I looked at him. Are you from the Su family? A collective gasp rippled through the crowd. Zhao Xingzu's smile froze instantly. Then returned to normal. Of course I'm not a member of the Su family. But at least I know what dignity is. You signed the divorce agreement last night. You should at least give President Su some face. I took out my phone. Dignity? You mean forging my signature? His eyes flashed. Mr.Gu. Such accusations require evidence. Of course. I stepped into the elevator. He reached out and blocked the elevator door. The board is having an internal meeting. You are no longer a senior executive and are not qualified to attend. I looked up at him. You are not a board member either. The elevator doors began to close. But he still wouldn't let go. The next second, Lin Jisha walked out of another elevator. She was dressed in black and held a stack of documents. Assistant Zhao. According to the company's Articles of Association, Mr.Gu Yuan remains the company's technology licensor, founding partner, and original intellectual property registrant. He has the right to participate in any board discussions involving changes to the Cloud Hub system, equity structure, or authorization. Zhao Xingzu's face darkened. President Lin. Are you sure you want to side with him? Lin Jisha opened the documents. I stand on the side of the company's legal rules. The surrounding silence deepened. Zhao Xingzu lowered his voice. Lin Jisha. Don't forget who signed your employment contract. Lin Jisha looked up. My employment contract was signed by the company. Not you. I glanced at Assistant Zhao. She didn't turn around, but simply pressed the button for the 26th floor. The elevator slowly ascended in the cramped space. Zhao Xingzu's composed exterior began to crack. He leaned closer to me and said in a voice only the three of us could hear. Gu Yuan. Do you really think hiring a legal advisor can turn things around? President Su won't believe you. She hates men trying to make her feel guilty by using her past contributions. I calmly stared at the rising floor numbers. Then what are you afraid of? He chuckled. I'm afraid you'll embarrass yourself. The elevator doors opened. 2 security guards stood outside the conference room. Zhao Xingzu was about to speak when Lin Jisha handed over the stamped board attendance notice. Any obstruction will be handled by the security department. The security guards glanced at it and immediately stepped aside. I pushed open the door. The conference room was packed with people. Su Wanqing sat at the head of the table. She had faint dark circles under her eyes. Clearly, she hadn't slept well last night. Su Man sat beside her. Her face cold. Director Zhao Zhiming leaned back in his chair, twirling a pen in his hand. Seeing me enter, a cold smile curled at the corner of his lips. Gu Yuan. You've come at the right time. Now that the agreement has been signed, let's complete some formalities. Don't make Wanqing's life even harder. I pulled up a chair and sat down. Director Zhao. Have you seen the agreement? Zhao Zhiming snorted. Assistant Zhao has already shown it to us. You voluntarily relinquished marital property and company-related rights. There's nothing to argue about. I turned to Su Wanqing. Do you think so too? She avoided my gaze. Gu Yuan. There was indeed a misunderstanding yesterday. As for the technical exemption, I can turn a blind eye to the document leak. But the company is about to raise funds, and we can't let personal issues affect the valuation. I understood. She still put the company first, placing me on the opposite side. I nodded. Then let's talk about company matters first. Zhao Xingzu immediately put a document on the projector. Distinguished directors. Mr.Gu downloaded a large amount of core data from the company's server yesterday afternoon, posing a serious risk of leakage. According to his signed resignation agreement, I recommend that the board of directors immediately pass a resolution to freeze all of his system permissions and pursue his liability for breach of contract. The projector lit up. A surveillance screenshot appeared on the screen. In the video, I was sitting in front of my office computer, connecting an external hard drive. The timestamp showed 4:17 p.m. yesterday. A murmur immediately broke out in the conference room. Su Wanqing's face darkened even more. Gu Yuan. How do you explain this video? I didn't speak. Chen Yu pushed the door open from the outside. He was holding a laptop. Zhao Xingzu's expression changed. Who let you in? Chen Yu connected his laptop directly to the projector. I'm the technical lead. I have a responsibility to explain this system log. He pulled up the back-end records. Yesterday afternoon at 4:17 p.m., President Gu logged into the local backup machine, not the core server. The downloaded file was named Personal Contract Scan Backup, which contained no code or customer data. Zhao Xingzu sneered. Of course he's your apprentice. He speaks for you. Chen Yu pressed enter. So, I obtained the system hash verification. A string of records appeared on the screen. The downloaded file was uploaded by President Gu himself 3 years ago. The file owner is Gu Yuan's personal account, and the permission attribute is set to private backup. In other words, he downloaded his own stuff. Silence fell over the room. I looked at Zhao Xingzu. You say I took core technology. Where's the evidence? Zhao Xingzu's face paled slightly, but his attitude remained firm. Even if it's not core code. His current sensitive status makes any download illegal. Lin Jisha said. Assistant Zhao. You applied to freeze his access yesterday, citing a risk of leakage. But the title of the attachment you submitted was evidence of core code copying. If the facts are not established, your application is a false risk control. Zhao Xingzu immediately turned to Su Wanqing. President Su. I only acted based on the surveillance footage. Su Wanqing frowned. Finally looking at me. Gu Yuan. Since it was a misunderstanding, why didn't you explain last night? I think it's absurd. Did you give me a chance to explain? She was stunned. I took out my phone and projected the call log from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. last night onto the screen. I called her 13 times. All unanswered. And also sent 3 text messages. The technical disclaimer wasn't signed by me. Don't let Zhao Xingzu touch the original. Meet before the board meeting tomorrow. I didn't read any of the 3 text messages. Zhao Xingzu's face completely changed. Su Wanqing suddenly turned to look at him. Why didn't I receive any messages on my phone last night? Zhao Xingzu's lips twitched. President Su. You were in a bad mood last night. And I was afraid MR.GU would upset you. So I temporarily put your phone on Do Not Disturb mode. A gasp rippled through the room. Su Wanqing's face grew increasingly cold. But I didn't look at her anymore. Instead, I played another recording. Zhao Xingzu's voice came through the speaker. MR.GU has agreed to leave with nothing. The company is ours now. Then Su Wanqing roared and slammed her hand on the table. I just wanted to warn him. Who told you to do this? Her words landed heavily on the conference table. Zhao Zhiming's expression changed. And Su Man sat up straight. Su Wanqing's face turned deathly pale. Zhao Xingzu stood up abruptly. You secretly recorded this. I looked up. When you forged the signature. Did you even think about this word? He froze. I took out the so-called technical exemption copy from the file folder. Director Lin. Please. Lin Jisha placed a preliminary assessment report on the table. The signature page shows signs of scanning and splicing. And the signature date doesn't match the paper's fiber aging. The official report will be released this afternoon. But this report is sufficient to initiate an internal investigation. The meeting room erupted in commotion. Su Wanqing stared at the document. Her fingers trembling slightly. Zhao Xingzu said urgently. President Su. Let me explain. This is just a procedural step, I'm afraid he'll change his mind. I stood up. You don't need to explain to her. I looked around at all the directors. From this moment forward, I formally notify Su's technology that due to the company's malicious forgery of authorization documents, freezing of the original rights holder's authorization, an attempt to illegally transfer intellectual property, I am suspending the free use authorization for the Cloud Hub system. Zhao Zhiming slammed his hand on the table. Gu Yuan. You wouldn't dare, I glared at him. Director Zhao. You signed Article 3. Clause 7 of the authorization agreement. Zhao Zhiming's face stiffened. I projected the agreement onto the screen, the highlighted red clauses were clearly visible. Su Wanqing stood up. Gu Yuan. You can't stop it. At 9 o'clock tonight. Huadong Bank will conduct due diligence on the financing system. I looked at her. So. You chose today to force me to sign. Her lips were pale. I picked up the documents. The due diligence will proceed as planned. A glimmer of hope flashed in her eyes. I continued. But from now on, I will be directly responsible for system authorization. Zhao Xingzu. You are not allowed to touch any technical documents. Zhao Xingzu's face turned ashen. I stopped as I passed by him. You just said the company is yours now. Before 9 o'clock. You'd better figure out exactly how Su's technology survives. After the board meeting, Su Wanqing followed me into the corridor. Gu Yuan. Wait. I didn't stop. She walked quickly to me. Let's talk. I checked my watch. In 10 minutes. I have to go to the technical department to reinstate the due diligence whitelist. She bit her lip. Regarding last night. I admit I didn't handle it well. I looked at her. Didn't handle it well. Her face froze. I said. Su Wanqing. You had your assistant prepare the divorce papers. Had him freeze my permissions. Had the finance department cut my alimony. And even had your mother kick me out of the villa. Now. You're saying I didn't handle it well. Her eyes reddened. I didn't actually want a divorce. These words slipped out softly. But to me they sounded utterly absurd. I asked her. Then what do you want? She was silent for a few seconds. I want you to understand that the company doesn't just belong to you. Lately, you've been frequently absent from public events. Not answering investor calls. And not accompanying me to social events. The board keeps saying you haven't made any contributions. Yet you have core permissions. I laughed. So. You believe them? She said urgently. I don't completely believe them. I was under too much pressure. Zhao Xingzu said that if I could get you to sign a letter of intent, the board would calm down. And the financing would proceed smoothly. A letter of intent. I took out my phone and showed her 3 images of agreements. Divorce agreement. Nothing. Permanent relinquishment of technology licensing. Is this a statement of intent? Su Wanqing's lips trembled as she looked at Zhao Xingzu, who had been following us. Zhao Xingzu immediately stepped forward. President Su. I admit my wording was a bit harsh. But Mr.Gu has indeed held on to core authority too tightly over the years. The company needs to go public, it can't be swayed by one person's emotions. I stared at him. You know how to make a public appearance. Zhao Xingzu straightened his back. At least more than those who hide behind keyboards writing code. Before I could respond, the glass door to the technical department suddenly opened. Qin Yu stood there, followed by a dozen engineers. He held a stack of employee badges. Assistant Zhao. You said Brother Yan is just hiding behind a keyboard writing code. Then explain why you had the IT department forcibly change the Cloud Hub master key last night, causing the test environment to crash 6 times. Zhao Xingzu's face turned pale. Su Wanqing was also stunned. Change the master key. Qin Yu handed over the log. 11:42 p.m. Last night. With President Su's electronic approval, Assistant Zhao ordered the IT department to remove Gu Yuan's account from the root access group and replace the Cloud Hub master key. The IT department was unaware of the underlying dependencies. After the operation, the payment settlement module, customer authorization module, and bank interface tests all reported errors. Su Wanqing's voice became tense. Why didn't anyone tell me? Qin Yu glared coldly at Zhao Xingzu. Assistant Zhao said that any technical anomalies should be reported to him first, and not to disturb President Su's rest. I finally looked at Zhao Xingzu's file. You blocked my calls and also blocked the technical department's fault reports. Beads of sweat appeared on Zhao Xingzu's forehead. I did this to let President Su rest. Besides, hasn't the system been restored? Qin Yu sneered. Restored. That's because Brother Yan's original administrator backup permissions are still valid. Otherwise, the bank's due diligence wouldn't even be able to open the login page now. Su Wanqing's face turned even paler. She turned to me. You know the system crashed last night. I know. Then why didn't you deal with this? I glanced at her. I called you 13 times. She was speechless. Zhao Xingzu gritted his teeth. Gu Yuan. You knew the company had conducted due diligence. Yet you deliberately crashed the system. This is revenge. I walked to the large screen in the technical department. Several red alert messages were still in effect. I typed in a series of commands. The screen flickered. And the system logs expanded line by line. I pointed to one. This is Zhao Xingzu authorizing the IT department to change the key. Then I pointed to another key. This is what happened when I remotely logged in at 1 a.m. in read-only mode to check the cause of the failure. Then another. This is why I didn't perform the repair. A system prompt popped up on the screen. Unauthorized permission replacement exists in the current environment. The company's legal representative needs to reconfirm the authorization. Otherwise, the original rights holder cannot take the initiative to avoid liability for unauthorized operations. I looked at Su Wanqing. You are the legal representative. He set your phone to do not disturb mode. Your instructions led them to revoke my permissions. How should I handle this? No one from the technical department spoke. Su Wanqing's face looked like it had been slapped hard. Zhao Xingzu tried to speak again. I interrupted him directly. Now, I'm giving you 2 choices. I turned to Su Wanqing. First, immediately issue an internal company notice revoking Zhao Xingzu's temporary coordination authority and restoring the original authorized process. Second, I will only retain read-only evidence and will not participate in tonight's due diligence. The Su family can bear the consequences themselves. Su Man rushed over and overheard these words. Her face darkened. Gu Yuan. Are you threatening Wanqing? I turned around. This is a notice. Su Man pointed at me. Don't forget. Your achievements today are all because our Su family gave you face. A divorce is a divorce. But taking your anger out on the company. What kind of person are you? Qin Yu couldn't help but speak up. Miss Su. The Su family's cloud pivot system was built by Yan Gu. I raised my hand to stop him. No need to argue. I've argued too many times over the years. Su Man only believes what she wants to believe. She sneered. Don't think like that. Anyone with a little tech knowledge can control the Su family. The company has lawyers, directors, and investors. It will continue to operate even if you're not here. I looked at Su Wanqing. Is that what you think too? Su Wanqing's lips were tightly pressed together, not answering immediately. At that moment, the answer was obvious. I nodded. Okay. I turned and left. Su Wanqing suddenly grabbed my wrist. I never said I wouldn't fix it. I looked down at her hand. She released it as if burned. Then she took out her phone and issued an order in front of everyone. Immediately revoke Zhao Xingzu's cross-departmental coordination authority over the technology, finance, and legal departments. All matters involving the Cloud Hub system, core authorization, and financing due diligence documents will revert to the original approval process. After the notification was issued, a hushed discussion erupted from the technology department. Zhao Xingzu's face was extremely grave. Su Man trembled with rage. Su Wanqing. Are you crazy? For him. He'd even hit his own people. Su Wanqing closed her eyes. Mom. Let's save the company first. I sat back down at the control panel. 10 minutes later. The test environment returned to normal. 20 minutes later. The bank interface reconnected. 30 minutes later. The due diligence report was generated. Everyone in the technical department looked different. Not because I wrote some extremely complex code, but because they saw for the first time that the seemingly insignificant CEO's husband, as Zhao Xingzu had described, was actually the true root of the entire system. At 8:50 p.m. The East China Bank due diligence team went online. Su Wanqing personally went to the technical department to supervise. I sat in front of the screen, my fingers tapping the final confirmation button. The system was running normally. The head of the bank team sent a message: the underlying architecture of the Yunshu system is stable. The permission chain is complete. Preliminary approval. Su Wanqing's shoulders, which had been tense all day, finally relaxed a little. She looked at me. Gu Yuan. Thank you for taking the time today. I stood up. You're welcome. A flicker of expectation crossed her eyes. But I continued. This is merely my duty as the authorizing party, fulfilling my responsibilities under the contract. Her face paled. Zhao Xingzu stood not far away, his gaze icy. Just then, Lin Jisha entered with a package. The official assessment report is here. She handed the report to Su Wanqing. It has been confirmed that the signature page of the technology exemption statement shows signs of splicing. And the original scan appears to be a supplementary office lease agreement signed by President Gu 3 years ago. Su Wanqing abruptly looked towards Zhao Xingzu. Zhao Xingzu's face instantly turned pale. I didn't give him time to explain. I clicked open another file. Coincidentally, an email appeared on the screen. Sender, Zhao Xingzu. Recipient, Administrative Department Document Administrator. The email was brief. Please send me scanned copies of all documents signed by Gu Yuan in the past 3 years. President Su urgently needs them. The email was sent 3 days ago in the early morning. The entire technology department fell silent. I glanced at Zhao Xingzu. Now, please explain. Zhao Xingzu stood in the center of the technical department, his face gradually turning pale. Su Wanqing gripped the evaluation report tightly, her voice cold and tense. What's going on with this email? Zhao Xingzu quickly regained his composure. President Su, you asked me to prepare this agreement. I need to verify MR.GU's past signature formats to prevent him from denying it later. I almost laughed out loud. You need to verify his signature format. Please have the administrator send you scanned copies of all his signatures from 3 years ago. He looked at me. MR.GU. Please don't turn a procedural issue into a criminal one. Lin Jisha immediately interjected. Assistant Zhao. Forging signatures isn't a procedural issue. Zhao Xingzu's eye twitched. Director Lin. I said I didn't forge it. I don't know how the signature page could be wrong. This agreement was drafted by an external lawyer. The administrative department was only responsible for handling paperwork. He began to quickly shirk responsibility. Faster than I expected. Su Wanqing turned to Lin Jisha. Who contacted the external lawyer? Lin Jisha reviewed her records. Assistant Zhao. Who sent the documents to be printed and bound? Where are the originals now? Lin Jisha paused. Assistant Zhao took them last night but didn't file them. Su Wanqing turned around. Where are the originals? Zhao Xingzu's Adam's apple bobbed. In my office. Go get them. He didn't move. Su Wanqing's voice suddenly rose a syllable. I said go get them. Zhao Xingzu's face twisted. And he turned and left. I didn't follow him. I glanced at Qin Yu. Qin Yu nodded and took 2 engineers to the monitoring room. Su Wanqing noticed and whispered to me. Do you think he'll destroy the originals? No need to think about it. I stared in the direction Zhao Xingzu disappeared. He definitely will. Su Wanqing was stunned. 5 minutes later. Qin Yu called, Brother Yen. He didn't go to his office. He went to the archives. I put it on speakerphone. Su Wanqing heard every word. He's looking through last night's file bag. The security guards couldn't stop him. He said he has President Su's authorization. Su Wanqing gritted her teeth. Have the guards stop him, Qin Yu said. It's too late. He just shredded a document. Su Wanqing's face turned deathly pale. I grabbed my coat. Let's go. When we arrived at the archives, the shredder was still running. Zhao Xingzu was clutching half a document. A security guard supporting his arm. Shredded paper was scattered on the floor. When he saw Su Wanqing, his eyes even reddened. President Su. I just wanted to get rid of the problematic version so MR.GU wouldn't use it against us. Su Wanqing trembled with anger. Who authorized you to destroy evidence? Zhao Xingzu retorted. What do you want me to do? Just watch him drag the company down. He pointed at me. From yesterday to today. He's been forcing you to revoke my authority step by step. Humiliating me in front of the employees. President Su. Can't you see? He's not here to solve the problem, he's here to take back the company. Su Man had also arrived. Hearing this, she immediately sided with Zhao Xingzu. Wanqing. Xingzu is right. Gu Yuan is retaliating. He knows you're raising funds. So he's deliberately obstructing the system. Sowing discord within the board. And smearing Xingzu. Su Wanqing didn't speak. Just looked at me. Her eyes revealed weariness. And a hint of wavering she herself didn't want to admit. I knew that expression all too well. Every time Su Man and the board pressured her, she would look at me like that. As if asking, why can't you just back down? I looked at her and said calmly, Su Wanqing. What's in the shredder isn't my feelings. This is the evidence. Her fingers trembled. I turned to the security guard. Cut off the power. The security guard looked at Su Wanqing. She closed her eyes. Do as instructed. The shredder stopped. And Lin Jisha put on gloves and took out a shredded paper bag. The documents can be restored. Assistant Zhao. I will record your actions just now. Zhao Xingzu's face was pale. But he still tried to appear calm. Whatever. I have a clear conscience. I picked up the document receipt placed beside me. Oh. Really? The log shows that at 9:16 last night, Zhao Xingzu signed 3 original agreements. And he also signed another document. A scanned copy of the old document signed by Gu Yuan. I handed the log to Su Wanqing. After reading it, the veins on the back of her hand bulged. Zhao Xingzu. Why did you still need to retrieve the old document? Zhao Xingzu finally panicked for a second. I told you. It was for verification. I nodded. Then let's check the surveillance footage. He immediately said. The camera in the archives was broken last night. I smiled. How do you know? The air froze. Zhao Xingzu realized he had misspoke. And his face turned pale. Qin Yu said coldly. The main camera in the archives was offline for 15 minutes last night. But the backup camera was not broken. He held up a tablet. The video showed that last night Zhao Xingzu stood in front of the filing cabinet, took pictures of some old signed documents with his phone, and then took a few pages of documents to the copy room next door. The time, the images, the actions, everything was crystal clear. Su Wanqing's face also changed. Su Wanqing stared at the screen, seemingly exhausted. Zhao Xingzu suddenly turned to her. President Su. I admit I was too hasty. But I did all this for you. His voice choked. I saw how difficult the past 6 months have been for you. Mr.Gu never accompanied you to events. The board said you were marginalized by him. Investors said the core technology wasn't in the company's hands. You slept less than 4 hours a night. He forced you to this. Su Wanqing's eyes flashed. This was Zhao Xingzu's skill. He didn't deny the facts. But shifted the focus. Packaging greed as loyalty. He called my bottom line oppression. Su Man immediately interjected. Wanqing. Xingzhu made a mistake. But his intentions were good. What about Gu Yuan? He's been hoarding all these permissions. Hasn't he been eyeing you for a long time? I looked at the mother and daughter and suddenly felt a little tired. I took out another contract from the file bag. You probably haven't seen this before. Su Wanqing took the contract. This was a memorandum of understanding for the free use of core technology after marriage. Signed 7 years ago before the establishment of Su's technology. On the signature page. Her handwriting was still slightly immature. Holding the pen. She smiled and said to me, Gu Yuan. Once the company is on the right track, I guarantee everyone will know you're my backbone. Now. She looked down at that line of text. Her eyes reddening. The second page of the agreement read, Gu Yuan voluntarily authorizes Su's technology to use the initial architecture of the Cloud Hub system free of charge. Purpose of authorization, to support Su Wanqing's entrepreneurial development. Term of authorization, during the marriage and the period of mutual trust and cooperation. If the company or Su Wanqing maliciously transfers, forges, or forces Gu Yuan to relinquish intellectual property rights, the authorizing party may unilaterally terminate the authorization. Su Man snatched it away, glanced at it, and her face immediately turned pale. How can such an agreement be valid? This is just something the couple wrote for fun. Lin Jisha said. Ms. Su. This agreement has the signatures of both parties, is witnessed by a lawyer, and has a notarization number. It is absolutely valid. Su Man was speechless. Zhao Xingzhu stared at the agreement. His eyes completely lost. He finally understood. He thought he could kick me out of Su's company. Kick me out of the company. In fact, he had already triggered the termination conditions. Su Wanqing looked up at me. You've been keeping this from me all along. I said. I haven't kept it. It's always been in effect. Her voice was hoarse. Why didn't you ever tell me? I glanced at her. I did tell you. She froze. I opened an email from 7 years ago with the subject, Wanqing. An electronic copy of the authorization memorandum has been archived. The statement contained only one sentence, not to protect you, but to prove that the source of technology is clear when the company raises funds in the future. She replied to the email. I understand. Thank you, husband. The conference room was silent. Su Wanqing's tears finally fell. But I felt nothing. Tears cannot revoke a signed consent form. Nor can they turn a forged signature back to innocence. At this moment, Lao Han ran over from the finance department. His face was grave. President Su. We've encountered a problem. Assistant Zhao had the finance department prepay 3 million consulting fees to Yuanqing Consulting Company yesterday, which has just been flagged and frozen by the bank's risk control department. Su Wanqing suddenly looked up. 3 million. What consulting fees? Lao Han submitted a payment request. The reason given was to provide funding for consulting services. The approver was Assistant Zhao, and the electronic authorization was submitted along with President Su's approval documents. Su Wanqing's face was pale. I never approved this. Old Han looked at Zhao Xingzhu. But the system shows that your electronic seal was used at 10:41 p.m. last night. Zhao Xingzhu took a half step back. I have received the payment request. Yuanqing Consulting Company. I've seen that name before. 3 months ago. Zhao Xingzhu contacted the company through his personal email. I opened the anonymously forwarded email on my phone. The sender's identity was unknown. But the content was clear, Mr. Zhao. Once the 3 million arrives, transfer it to the account you previously agreed to. I turned the screen to everyone. Zhao Xingzhu's face instantly turned deathly pale. Su Wanqing stared at him. Her voice terrifyingly soft. Tell me, is this also for my sake? Zhao Xingzhu has been suspended from his duties and is under investigation. Su Wanqing was not intentionally ruthless. But the bank's risk control, legal records, document destruction, forged signatures, and abnormal consulting fees, all these factors combined ultimately led to his ruthlessness. She could no longer protect him. But I knew this was just the beginning. For a male assistant to be involved in the technology, finance, and legal departments, someone must have opened doors of opportunity for him. Su Wanqing's trust was one key factor. The board's tacit approval was another. That evening, An emergency executive meeting was held on the 26th floor. I hadn't originally intended to attend. The meeting invitation Lin Jisha sent me only included one sentence: Zhao Xingzu's issues will delay the approval of technology licenses and financing documents. If you're not present, they will shift the blame onto you. After reading it, I only replied with one word: I will be there. The atmosphere in the meeting room was heavy. Zhao Xingzu wasn't there. His seat was empty. But the mess he had created was all laid bare on the table. Zhao Zhiming struck first. President Su, I think the most important thing right now is to stabilize the source of funding. Not to investigate Assistant Zhao's personal issues. The conditions for Gu Yuan to obtain authorization are still unclear. Investors will not accept core technology being held by a divorced ex-husband. I sat at the far end. I said nothing. Su Wanqing glanced at me. Director Zhao. Now is not the right time to discuss this. Zhao Zhiming sneered. When is the timing wrong? Su's company is not a husband and wife business. The company's achievements today are not based on feelings, but on capital and systems. If Gu Yuan really cares about the company, he should transfer all the technology licenses to the company. Su Man immediately interjected. That's right. Wanqing. Don't let him manipulate you anymore. Just give him a sum of money to buy him out. I glanced at her. Ms. Su. How much do you plan to donate? Su Man hesitated for a moment. Name your price. I nodded. In the past 3 years, the cloud transformation system has generated $1.9 billion in revenue for Su's group and supported 3 rounds of financing, reaching a valuation of $2.7 billion. For the acquisition of core technology, the minimum valuation starts from $800 million. Su Man's face changed instantly. Are you crazy? You and Wanqing have been married for 7 years. And you still have the nerve to make such a request. I laughed. Didn't you just say that the agreement between husband and wife doesn't count? And we should treat it as a commercial acquisition? Su Man was so shocked that she couldn't speak. Her face turning red. Zhao Zhiming tapped the table. Gu Yuan. Stop messing around. Without the Su Group's platform, your system wouldn't be worth that much. I looked up at him. Then don't buy it. Silence filled the conference room. I continued. You can continue using other systems. Zhao Zhiming's face darkened. Su Wanqing finally spoke. Enough. She looked at me. Her voice much softer. Gu Yuan. The financing can't stop. Guodong Bank needs to see the complete authorization chain tomorrow. If you have the means, we can talk. First, I demand that the other party confirm responsibility for the forged signature and issue me a formal written apology. Su Man immediately frowned. You want Wanqing to apologize? For you. I didn't look at her. Second, revoke all false risk control records against me, including records of leaking confidential information, transferring files, and abnormal permissions. Lin Jisha nodded. That's reasonable. Third, all payments, contracts, and electronic seal usage records handled by Zhao Xingzu must be transferred to a third-party audit. Zhao Zhiming's expression changed slightly. I saw it. He finally reacted. Fourth, I will only provide a 30-day temporary authorization before the audit results are released. I will not sign a permanent transfer agreement. Su Wanqing's fingers clenched. 30 days is too short. Enough for you to investigate internal issues. Zhao Zhiming said coldly. What if the investors don't accept it? I glanced at him. Then let them see why the company allowed its assistant to forge a core technology exemption letter. Zhao Zhiming shut up. Su Wanqing rubbed her temples wearily. I accept the first 3 terms. Fourthly, I need to communicate with the bank. I said. Okay. A hint of surprise flashed in her eyes. Probably not expecting me to be so direct. I added one more thing. But the temporary authorization can only be sent to the bank directly by me. Not through Zhao Xingzu. Nor through any director's private email. Zhao Zhiming sneered. You don't trust the board. I glanced at him. Yes. The meeting room was deathly silent. I stood up. That's all for today. Su Wanqing followed suit. Gu Yuan. Goodbye. I didn't refuse. The corridor lights were bright. She walked beside me. Her pace slower than usual. When did you start to suspect Xingzu? This is the first time he's replied to a message I sent you. She was stunned. I told you. 3 months ago. I sent you a project risk report. You replied. Don't bother me with these trivial matters. That wasn't your tone then. Su Wanqing's face paled. I continued. Later I discovered that when you were in meetings, your phone was often in his hands. He answered for you. When you went on business trips, he arranged everything for you. When you were tired, he filtered information for you. You thought it was thoughtfulness. But it was actually isolation. She stopped walking. Why didn't you tell me? I turned to look at her. I did. She froze. You said Zhao Xingzu crossed the line. And I thought you were jealous. Her voice lowered. I also said you were petty. I didn't answer. Her eyes reddened again. Gu Yuan. Back then. I really thought you just minded him being too close to me. I didn't think. I interrupted her. You didn't think because you didn't want to. These words made her face instantly pale. I stepped into the elevator. She stood outside. Not following me. Just as the elevator doors were about to close, she suddenly said, I didn't sign the final version of the divorce agreement. I looked at her. I signed. The elevator doors closed. Her face locked outside. Back at the hotel, I opened my laptop. Qin, you sent a compressed file. Brother Yen. I found it. Zhao Xingzu logged into President Su's email account without authorization 7 times in the past 6 months. 3 of which involved Director Zhao Zhiming. I unzipped the file, unfolding the email records one by one. One email was from Zhao Zhiming's private email, Xingzu. Gu Yuan's access must be dealt with. Wanqing can't bring herself to do it. Give her a push. Here we go again. Zhao Xingzu replied. I'll get him to sign. After he's gone, President Su will rely on me more. I stared at the screen. So. That's it. Zhao Xingzu wasn't digging his own grave alone. Zhao Zhiming wanted to do the same. He wanted to transfer control of Wanqing. Zhao Xingzu wanted to use Su Wanqing to climb the ranks. And I was the stumbling block they both wanted to get rid of. I forwarded the email to Lin Jisha. 10 minutes later. She replied. The chain of evidence is important. But not enough. We need evidence of Zhao Zhiming's involvement in forging documents or transferring benefits. I replied. The audit of the consulting fees tomorrow should yield some findings. Just as I was about to shut down my computer, the doorbell rang. I looked through the peephole and saw Su Wanqing standing outside. She had no assistant and wasn't wearing makeup. She was holding a box. I opened the door. She looked up at me and said in a hoarse voice, Your cufflinks. I took them from Zhao Xingzu's office. I glanced at them. They were the ones for the newlyweds' wedding. She handed me the box. I'm sorry. I didn't take them. Her eyes trembled. Gu Yuan. I know it's too late to say this now. But I really didn't mean to ruin you. I said. But you let someone else ruin you for you. Tears welled up in her eyes. I was wrong. The hallway was silent. Apart from her breathing. I looked at her. Suddenly. I remembered 7 years ago. She had stood before me like this. Holding a draft of a financing plan. Her eyes gleamed as she said. Gu Yuan. Once we succeed, I won't let anyone look down on you. Later. Everyone looked down on me. She was the first to look away. I didn't take the box of cufflinks. Su Wanqing. If you're wrong, go and straighten out the company's processes. Investigate the people around you. And take responsibility for the documents you signed. Before closing the door, I said one last thing, don't try to win me back with the past. The next morning, a third-party audit team moved into the Su group. Zhao Xingzu was ordered to hand over his computer and phone. He refused for the first time, claiming it was personal privacy. Lin Jisha directly presented the company's equipment management agreement. Your office computer, work phone, and company email are company assets. If you don't cooperate, we'll call the police. Zhao Xingzu's face turned pale, and he had no choice but to comply. I sat nearby, not saying a word the whole time. As he passed by me, he lowered his voice and said, Gu Yuan, don't get too cocky. Su Wanqing is just feeling guilty now. Once the financing pressure hits, she'll choose the company over you. I looked up. I no longer need her to choose me. His eyes flickered. I continued. What you should be worried about is when she'll stop choosing you. He sneered. She can't leave me. For the past 2 years. I've handled all her schedules, connections, and communications with investors. She can't survive without me. Su Wanqing overheard this as she walked in. She stopped at the door. And Zhao Xingzu's face instantly changed. President Su. That's not what I meant. Su Wanqing stared at him. Then what did you mean? He immediately put on a hurt expression. What I meant was. I've been trying my best to help you. Su Wanqing didn't comfort him as usual, but instead walked to the table and put down a document. From today onwards, my schedules, emails, and phone access will be jointly managed by 3 people in the president's office. No one is allowed to reply to my private messages in my name. Nor is anyone allowed to conceal any risk reports from the company. Zhao Xingzu's lips turned white. You no longer trust me. Su Wanqing paused. I used to trust you. These 4 words were more hurtful than I don't trust you. The audit quickly discovered the first problem, the 3 million consulting fee paid to Yuan Chen. The contract lacked details of the consulting services. The contract contact person was Zhao Xingzu. The approval initiator was also Zhao Xingzu. The actual controller of Yuanchen Consulting's receiving account was related to Zhao Zhiming's brother-in-law. In the conference room, Zhao Zhiming's face finally fell. This is just a business collaboration. Having contact doesn't mean it's against regulations. Lin Jisha projected the payment process onto the screen. On the day of signing, Assistant Zhao used President Su's electronic seal to complete the approval. But President Su was attending a closed-door roadshow at the time, and her phone was being kept by Assistant Zhao. Su Wanqing sat at the head of the table, her face icy, and asked Zhao Xingzu, "You used my electronic seal." Zhao Xingzu's forehead broke out in a sweat. President Su. That day Director Zhao said the consulting fee had to be locked on the same day. Otherwise the bank funds would be misappropriated. I couldn't contact you. So I had to deal with this matter first. Zhao Zhiming immediately frowned. Assistant Zhao. Watch your words. I only suggested speeding up the process. I never authorized you to overstep your bounds. The 2 dogs began to tear at each other. I lowered my head and took a sip of water. Su Wanqing turned to Zhao Zhiming. Mr. Zhao. What is your relationship with Yuanchen Consulting? Zhao Zhiming's face darkened. Just ordinary business partners. Old Han placed a bank statement on the table. Yuanchen Consulting repaid 2 sums totaling 12 million to a company under Zhiming Capital last year. Zhao Zhiming stood up abruptly. Han Zhenhua. What do you mean by that? Old Han wouldn't let it go. I'm just providing audit materials. Zhao Zhiming glared at Su Wanqing. Ms. Su. Are you really going to fire a director for your ex-husband? Su Wanqing's face paled. This has nothing to do with Gu Yuan. Zhao Zhiming sneered. Then why did this happen right after he caused trouble? Don't forget. I still have 3 investors who can participate in the next round of financing. If you expose this today, the valuation of Su Group will drop by at least 30%. This was a blatant threat. In the past, Su Wanqing's biggest fears were valuation, financing, and investors. These were her weaknesses. But this time, she glanced at the forged signature report on the table and then looked at me. I didn't give her any hints. This was her own game, she had to rely on herself. A few seconds later, she spoke. If the Su Group's valuation is supported by forged signatures and illegal payments, then a 30% drop is to be expected. Everyone in the room was stunned. Zhao Zhiming's face darkened completely. Su Wanqing. Think it over carefully. She gripped her pen tightly. I've made up my mind. The contract with Yuanchen Consulting is suspended. Funds are frozen. And related documents are transferred to the audit. Zhao Xingzu's access to all company data is suspended. Director Zhao. Because you participated in related party transactions. According to the company's articles of association, you will abstain from subsequent voting. Zhao Zhiming gave a bitter smile. All right. He turned to me. Gu Yuan. You win. I looked up. President Zhao. I haven't even started yet. Zhao Zhiming's expression changed. I pushed a document across the table. This is a supplementary agreement to those rounds of financing 3 years ago. Everyone looked at the screen. I turned to a page. At the time, Chairman Zhao invested in Su's under the name of Jiming Capital and requested a special clause. If there were any significant changes to the core technology licensing, Chairman Zhao would have the priority right to negotiate the acquisition of related assets. Zhao Jiming's eyes sharpened. I continued. In other words, if I'm forced to relinquish the technology, or if there are problems with the licensing, Chairman Zhao can use this risk event to lower the valuation of Su's group, and then have affiliated companies acquire parts of the Cloud Hub system's functionality at a low price. A murmur rippled through the conference room. Su Wanqing glared at Zhao Jiming. Jiming. So you've been urging me to resolve Gu Yuan's authority issue. Is that it? Just because of this? Zhao Jiming slammed his hand on the table. Nonsense. That's just a standard investment protection clause. I nodded. On its own. That's true. But combined with your emails with Zhao Xingzu. It's not. I projected the emails onto the screen. Xingzu. Gu Yuan's authority must be resolved. Su Wanqing can't bring herself to do it. Force her. Zhao Xingzu's face turned deathly pale. Zhao Jiming's face also froze. Su Wanqing stared at the email, her eyes seemingly pierced by something. She had always thought she was in control of the company, but her assistant and the board had long treated her as a pawn. Zhao Xingzu suddenly lost control. Chairman Zhao, you said that if I got rid of Gu Yuan, you would support me in taking a senior management position. You also said that President Su couldn't do without me. Now you want to push all the responsibility onto me. Zhao Jiming said sharply. Shut up. I looked at them. Don't rush. I opened another recording. This was provided by Lao Han last night. In the recording, Zhao Xingzu's voice was very low. Chairman Zhao, rest assured. Gu Yuan has already signed. I will ensure that President Su is stable. She's just bragging. She will eventually give in. Zhao Jiming replied. The documents must be clean and concise. Don't let Gu Yuan catch any diseases. The recording ended. The conference room was deathly silent. Zhao Jiming's lips twitched. But he couldn't speak. Su Wanqing sat there. Her face as pale as paper. She looked at Zhao Xingzu. You hugged me. You said the company was ours in the conference room. Zhao Xingzu's voice trembled. President Su. She interrupted him. Who are you referring to with ours? Zhao Xingzu was completely frozen by those words. Everyone understood that the Wehe spoke of was not him and Su Wanqing, but him and Zhao Jiming. Su Wanqing closed her eyes. When she opened them again, her voice was flat. Call the police. Zhao Xingzu suddenly looked up. President Su. She didn't look at him. Director Lin. Follow the rules. Zhao Xingzu lunged forward to grab her hand. But I stepped forward and blocked him. His eyes were bloodshot. Gu Yuan. Are you satisfied now? You ruined me. I grabbed his wrist and twisted it hard. He doubled over in pain. I looked down at him. I didn't ruin you. You went too far. After Zhao Xingzu was taken away, the Su Group's internal network exploded. Messages flew wildly in the employee group chat. Is Assistant Zhao really under investigation? I heard he forged Mr.Gu's signature. Shouldn't Mr.Gu have left without taking anything? It's a reversal. The cloud pivot system belongs to Mr.Gu. Why didn't anyone say this before? Of course. Some people spoke up for Zhao Xingzu. Assistant Zhao is usually very nice to everyone. Could this be a victim of internal political struggle? Mr. Gu's return has caused such a huge uproar. What about the company's funds? A couple fighting and dragging the company down with them is quite scary. I saw it all. Qin Yu was so angry that he wanted to explain in the group chat. But I stopped him. Don't bother. He said indignantly. Brother Yen. They have no idea how much you've done for the company. I looked out the window. It doesn't matter if they know. Most people don't lack the truth, they just choose the position that's most advantageous to them. That night, Su Wanqing called a meeting with all the employees. I didn't go on stage but stood in the back row. She was dressed in black. Her face was a little pale, but her voice was steady. Regarding the recent rumors circulating within the company. As president, I want to clarify 3 things to all employees. The large screen lit up. First, Zhao Xingzu is suspected of forging documents, misusing electronic seals, and improperly promoting related party transactions. The company has reported the case to the police and is cooperating with the investigation. Second, Gu Yuan remains the original intellectual property holder of the Cloud Hub system and the company's founding technology licensor, and has never leaked or transferred the company's core data. Third, the company will rebuild its authorization, approval, and risk control processes. No one may use personal relationships to override company rules. The hall fell silent. Su Wanqing paused, then looked up at me, sitting in the last row. Furthermore, I personally apologize to Mr. Yuan, because my management negligence, misplaced trust, and personal emotions affected the company's judgment. Everyone turned to look at her. I remained expressionless. Su Wanqing continued. Over the past 7 years, Su's technology has been able to develop to where it is today entirely thanks to Mr. Yuan's technical contributions and long-term support. I bear primary responsibility for the various injustices, misunderstandings, and rumors that have circulated within the company regarding him as CEO. She bowed to me. The hall was silent. This was the first time she had publicly acknowledged my identity. But I didn't feel the satisfaction I had expected. The belated exoneration was like a cup of cold tea, it quenched my thirst, but couldn't warm my heart. After the meeting, many long-time employees surrounded me. Mr. I'm sorry. I didn't know before. Brother Yen. Don't take what was said in the group chat to heart. Mr. Will you stay with the company? The last question immediately silenced the room. I looked around at everyone. I will complete this 30-day temporary handover. Someone became anxious. After that, I said. We'll proceed according to the contract. Chen Yu's expression changed. Brother Yen. Are you really leaving? I patted his shoulder. You're capable of handling things on your own now. His eyes reddened. But the Su family can't do without you. I smiled. No one is irreplaceable. Su Wanqing happened to hear this. She stood outside the crowd, her face pale. Seeing this, the others dispersed. She walked over. Can we talk? I checked the time. Of course. We went to the rooftop. This was where we frequented most in the early days of our business. The company was on the 18th floor, and it was very windy on the roof. Every time she failed to secure funding, she would drag me here to feel the breeze. She would say, Gu Yuan, I want to climb to the top. I would say, then I'll build you a ladder later. She did climb to the top, but when she looked down, she could no longer see the person holding the ladder. Su Wanqing stood by the railing and said softly, I didn't say those things today to win you back. She turned around, her eyes reddening. Can't you calm down? I looked at her. Then how should I calm down? She couldn't answer. So I said it for her. I should be angry. I should question you. I should scold you. I should make you feel that I still care about you. Tears welled up in her eyes. I sighed. Su Wanqing. I was already angry yesterday. She froze. At the villa gate. When you asked me what I took. I wasn't angry anymore. Her face turned deathly pale. These words were more hurtful than any accusation. Because at that moment, my last lifeline snapped. She said softly, the divorce agreement can be voided. We haven't officially gone through with it yet. I looked at her. I've already signed it. But not the final confirmation. Then sign it now. She gasped. Gu Yuan. Do you really want a divorce? I nodded. Really? Her tears flowed even more freely. Isn't there even a sliver of room for negotiation? I thought for a moment. There is. A glimmer of light flashed in her eyes. I said. Company collaborations can be negotiated through commercial contracts. The light vanished. She gave a bitter smile. Now all we have left is a contract. I said. At least a contract won't pretend to love you while handing a knife to someone else. She covered her mouth. Her shoulders trembling slightly. I didn't comfort her. Before. When she cried. I would immediately soften. Now. I only felt a chill. My phone vibrated. Lin Jisha sent a message. Zhao Xingzu admitted to some facts but pushed the forged signature issue to an outside lawyer. Zhao Zhiming denies knowledge. We need more direct evidence. I replied. Check Zhao Xingzu's personal cloud drive. Lin Jisha, the police are investigating according to procedure. This will take time. I stared at the screen, remembering something. Zhao Xingzu was extremely confident. Overly confident people often leave behind things to flaunt. I texted Qin Yu. Check the cloud synchronization status of the smart speaker in his office. Qin Yu immediately replied. Isn't that part of the president's office procurement? Yes. He likes to use voice memos in the office. 10 minutes later. Qin Yu sent an audio file. Brother Yen. Found it. Listen to this. I clicked play. Zhao Xingzu's voice rang out. Gu Yuan's signature has been pieced together. Chairman Zhao said it's undetectable. President Su is in a bad mood today. It's the perfect time to force her to submit. After this is over, I'll be the only one left by her side. I stared at the audio waveform. My eyes turning cold. Su Wanqing heard it too. She froze in the cold wind. In the recording, Zhao Xingzu laughed again. She thought I was fighting for the company for her. But she's also foolish. Without Gu Yuan, she can't maintain the unity of the Su family. Su Wanqing's face turned pale. I put my phone in my pocket. Now you know. Her voice trembled. Gu Yuan. I interrupted her. Don't call me that. This time. She really lost all support. I grabbed the railing and turned away from the rooftop. I heard her suppressed sobs behind me. But I didn't turn back. Zhao Xingzu's smart speaker recording became crucial evidence. His relationship with Zhao Zhiming could no longer be concealed. After the police intervened, Zhao Zhiming dared not openly suppress the Su family anymore. But he didn't sit idly by. On the morning of the fourth day, an article suddenly appeared online. The title was nauseating. Founder maliciously stifles company after divorce. Su's technology faces ex-husband's 800 million yuan pre-funding extortion. The article portrayed me as a kept man who entered the company through marriage. It said I had long been absent from management but still possessed core technical authority. The statement claimed that Su Wanqing had endured humiliation for years before finally filing for divorce. And that I was taking advantage of the funding to demand a huge buyout fee. It even included a photo of me leaving the villa carrying a cardboard box. The angle was deliberately skewed, making me look like I was throwing a tantrum after being kicked out. Within 2 hours of the article's publication, it had been shared over 10,000 times. The company's public relations department completely collapsed. Su Wanqing immediately called me. I answered. Her voice was urgent. Gu Yuan. I didn't publish that article. I know. She paused. You know. You're not that stupid. There was a second of silence on the other end of the line. She gave a bitter laugh. Thank you. For still being willing to insult me at a time like this. I didn't reply. Have you found the source? The PR department is investigating. The initial guess is that Zhao Zhiming leaked it. He wants to portray you as a risk factor, forcing me to break off our relationship. I opened the web page and browsed the comments. The kept man has fought back. How could core technology be controlled by one person? This company deserves to go bankrupt. Poor female CEO. Drained dry by her ex-husband. I calmly scrolled through the screen. Then I saw another comment. I heard that guy had an affair with the company's legal counsel. That's why he's so eager to divorce. Attached was a photo of me and Lin Jisha talking outside the meeting room. The angle of the shot was also carefully designed. Su Wanqing saw it too. Her voice turned cold. They've dragged Lin Jisha into this too. I said. That's good. She was stunned. They're panicking. The more panicked they are, the more mistakes they'll make. 10 minutes later, Lin Jisha knocked and came in, placing a draft of a legal complaint in front of me. Defamation. Commercial defamation. Invasion of privacy. We can discuss these from 3 angles. But in terms of public relations, we need a faster response. I nodded. Hold a press conference. She looked at me and said. You'll be there in person. Yes. Su Wanqing immediately said on the phone. I'll go with you. I refused. No need. She was silent. I added. If you show up, they'll say you were coerced by me. If you don't show up, it will be more effective once the evidence comes out. Lin Jisha nodded. I agree. At 3 o'clock in the afternoon, the press conference was hastily convened. As the founding technology licensor of Su's technology, it was my first time standing on stage facing the media. The flashbulbs went off. The first reporter's question was pointed. Mr.Gu. After the divorce. Did you really demand $800 million from the Su family for the technology acquisition? I said to the camera. It wasn't coercion. Nor was it a mess. Su proposed a commercial acquisition. And I provided a minimum reference price based on valuation logic. Mr.Su could refuse, I didn't force him. The second reporter pressed further. Then do you admit that Su's personal possession of core technology poses a significant risk to his financing? I tapped the screen behind me and said. 7 years ago. When Su's technology was first established. It was a mess. Su Wanqing and I signed an agreement allowing others to use the core technology for free. We fully disclosed this during the 3 rounds of financing. And all investors were aware of and agreed to it. The screen displayed the disclosure page of the financial documents. The press conference room was silent. I continued. The real risk is not that the authorization is in my hands, but that someone forged my signature and illegally transferred the authorization. The screen switched. Forensic reports, email logs, and text records of Zhao Xingzu's voice memos. Each page had been heavily edited, but enough content was still exposed. The reporters immediately erupted in a cacophony of questions. Mr.Gu. Who forged the signature? Does this involve senior management of the Su Group? Was President Su aware of this? I addressed the camera. The case has been transferred to the police and auditing agencies. I'm here today only to say 3 things. First, I have never leaked any core data of the Su Group. Second, I have never extorted the Su Group. Third, I will no longer excuse anyone's mistakes. The clicking of camera shutters below grew increasingly rapid. At this moment, a reporter stood up. Mr.Gu. There are photos showing a close relationship between you and Lin Jisha, the legal director of the Su Group. Was there any improper relationship during your marriage? The room fell silent. Lin Jisha sat in the front row. Her face icy. I looked at the reporter. May I ask which media outlet you are from? He gave his name. I nodded. I will have my lawyer write down your questions. Now. I will answer them. I pressed the remote control. And the surveillance footage appeared on the screen. The image then zoomed out, revealing a panoramic view showing Chi Mu, Lao Han, and 2 auditors also in the corridor at the time. The so-called intimate gesture was nothing more than Lin Jisha handing me a document. A low chuckle rippled through the audience. My eyes met those of the reporter. Taking things out of context is your specialty. My habit is to have all the evidence. He sat down, looking embarrassed. Less than half an hour after the press conference ended, public opinion shifted. It turns out the assistant forged the signature. This guy isn't a gold digger, he's the original owner of this technology. The female CEO's assistant and a board member colluded. This conspiracy is insane. My brother-in-law is so calm, he's producing evidence bit by bit to fight back. The Su Group stock price didn't continue to fall. And investors didn't immediately withdraw their funds. Zhao Zhiming's first counterattack failed. But he quickly played his second card. At 7 p.m., East China Bank suddenly notified them that due to internal governance risks within the Su Group, due diligence would be extended, and loan approval would be suspended. Su Wanqing rushed to the hotel to find me, looking exhausted. Zhao Zhiming contacted the bank's vice president. He forced me to compromise. I poured a glass of water. She placed the documents in front of her, staring at the water. Her expression complex. Thank you. I didn't sit down. What does the bank want? They want a stable authorization document. At least for 3 years. I said. Okay. She looked up sharply. I continued. But I have 3 conditions. She immediately pulled out a notebook. Go ahead. First. The board of directors of the Su Group must be restructured. Zhao Zhiming's affiliated seats will be suspended from voting. She nodded. Second. An independent authorization committee will be established for the cloud hub system, jointly managed by the technology, legal, and finance departments. No one can obtain core permissions alone. She agreed again. Third. The divorce must be completed within a week. Her pen stopped. The room fell silent. She looked up at me, her eyes reddening. You have to include this in the conditions. I said. Yes. She smiled bitterly. Are you trying to stop me from backing out? I want to end this mess. She lowered her head and remained silent for a long time. I thought she would refuse. But finally, she nodded slightly. Okay. She wrote down the third condition. Her handwriting slightly crooked. I agree. I watched her sign her name. I felt no joy of victory. Only a sense of relief that everything had finally settled. Just then, her phone rang. It was Su Man calling. Su Wanqing answered. Su Man's shrill voice came through the speakerphone. Wanqing. Your father is in the hospital. It's all Gu Yuan's fault. If he has any conscience left, hand over the authorization letter immediately. Or I'll make him wish he were dead. Su Wanqing's face changed. I looked at her. Unlike before, she didn't immediately demand that I submit. Instead, she closed her eyes and said into the phone, Mom, don't force him with the family anymore. There was a moment of silence on the other end of the line. Then Su Man roared. Are you crazy? You actually abandoned your own father for him. Su Wanqing's voice trembled. But her tone was firm. I will take good care of Dad. But Gu Yuan no longer recognizes our family. She hung up the phone. Tears splashed onto the paper. I watched helplessly as a single drop of water blurred her signature. She had finally learned to stand up. But not for us. This was for herself. A belated awakening. The bank negotiations were scheduled for the following morning at the headquarters of Huadong Bank. I attended with Su Wanqing, Lin Jisha, and Lao Han. Bank Vice President Lu Yuan and 3 staff members from the Risk Control Department sat across the table. Zhao Zhiming, also a shareholder of the company, was invited by the bank to observe. Upon seeing me, he sneered. Mr.Gu is quite the celebrity, even divorced. He can still sit at the financing negotiation table. I pulled out a chair and sat down. Chairman Zhao is not bad either. Sitting here handling related party transactions. His face darkened. Lu Yuan tapped the table. Gentlemen, we are not here to discuss personal grudges today. The bank only cares about 3 things: whether the authorization is stable, whether governance is controllable, and whether negative public opinion will escalate. Su Wanqing pushed the 3-year temporary authorization plan across the table. This is our new proposal. Lu Yuan flipped through a few pages. Mr.Gu's authorization period is 3 years. But the right to terminate the authorization in the event of a major default is reserved. He looked at me. This still poses a risk to the bank, I said. Every authorization includes a termination clause for default. The risk isn't in the clause itself, but in who will trigger it. Zhao Zhiming interjected. Easier said than done. Yesterday Mr.Gu only gave us 30 days. Today it's 3 years. And tomorrow it might change again. How can the bank trust an emotional ex-husband? Su Wanqing's face changed. I raised my hand to signal her to stop. I looked at Lu Yuan. Director Lu. I've brought 2 documents. The first is a report on the stable operation of the cloud hub system over the past 3 years. The second is a risk statement regarding potential authorization triggers. In the past 3 years, the system has not experienced any major incidents. The only instance of abnormal access occurred after Zhao Zhiming overstepped his authority and changed the master key. In other words, the system risk does not come from me, but from a governance loophole within the company. Lu Yuan flipped through the documents. His expression softening slightly. Zhao Zhiming sneered. Isn't this governance loophole a manifestation of the Su family's instability? I nodded. That's exactly the problem we need to solve today. I looked at Su Wanqing. She took a deep breath and pushed the board's rectification resolution across the table. The Su family will suspend Zhao Zhiming's voting rights on related party matters, initiate an independent board audit, and hire an external compliance director. Zhao Zhiming stood up abruptly. Su Wanqing. You don't have that authority. You're unilaterally suspending my position. Lin Jisha interjected. This isn't unilateral. Last night's extraordinary board meeting passed a recusal review, requiring you to recuse yourself from related party transactions and from voting on financing, authorization, and audit matters. Zhao Zhiming roared. I don't accept it. I looked at him. Whether you accept it or not doesn't affect the validity of the document. His face turned pale. Lu Yuan frowned. Chairman Zhao. What the bank needs is stability, not arguments. Zhao Zhiming sat down again. His eyes dark. The negotiations continued. Lu Yuan made one last request: if Mr.Gu is willing to entrust the authorization to a third-party trust institution for supervision, the bank can continue. Su Wanqing looked at me. This was indeed a feasible solution. But it required me to further delegate authority. Zhao Zhiming immediately seized the opportunity. I also think third-party supervision is reasonable. It would be best if Zhiming Capital recommended this institution. Because we are familiar with the Su family. I smiled. His true colors were showing again. I said, third-party supervision is fine. But the institution must be jointly selected by the bank, the Su family, and me. Chairman Zhao's affiliated institutions do not meet the requirements. Zhao Zhiming said coldly. You're targeting me at every turn. That's right. I didn't mince words. He was furious. His face turning red. Lu Yuan pondered for a moment. This plan is acceptable in principle. A hint of relief finally flashed in Su Wanqing's eyes. But Zhao Zhiming suddenly smiled. Director Lu. Let me remind you. Mr.Gu is also currently facing debt risks. I glanced at him. He took out a document. When Mr.Gu's father's company went bankrupt, it left behind a guaranteed debt. Although the debt agreement has not been executed for many years, the creditor recently applied to resume collection. If the authorizing party's financial situation is unstable, shouldn't the bank consider the risk? Su Wanqing's expression changed. Very few people knew about this. My father's company did encounter some problems before he passed away. But that guaranteed debt was resolved through mediation 6 years ago. Zhao Zhiming dared to bring this up. Which meant he had investigated me. But also that he hadn't done his homework. Lu Yuan frowned at me. Mr.Gu. This needs explanation, Su Wanqing said urgently. I know about that debt. It should have been. I raised my hand to stop her. I took out the third document from the folder. Is this the one Chairman Zhao is referring to? Zhao Zhiming paused. I placed the court's debt settlement certificate on the table. 6 years ago, the creditor issued a settlement confirmation. And the court terminated the enforcement. This is the case closure notice. Lu Yuan took the notice. And the risk control personnel immediately verified it. Zhao Zhiming's face darkened. And I glanced at him. Chairman Zhao. Your habit of only checking half the information isn't good. Someone in the conference room couldn't help but chuckle. Zhao Zhiming gritted his teeth and said, who knows if this was fabricated on the spot? Lin Jisha said coldly. Chairman Zhao. If you have any doubts about the authenticity of the court documents, please call the police immediately. Zhao Zhiming shut up. But I didn't stop. Since Chairman Zhao mentioned the debt issue, I also have some debt information I'd like the bank to see. I pressed the remote control. The loan structure of Zhiming Capital's subsidiary appeared on the screen. Zhiming Capital's affiliated companies currently have 2 loans that are about to mature. The collateral valuation of one of the companies has been downgraded. And the funding gap is about 48 million renminbi. If the 30 million renminbi consulting fee paid by Yuanchang Consulting can be successfully transferred, part of it will be used to fill this gap. Zhao Zhiming's face changed instantly. You're talking nonsense. Lao Han brought up the concept of a transaction chain. In the past 6 months, Yuanchang Consulting's account has repeatedly remitted funds to Zhiming Capital's affiliated companies. Although this 30 million has not yet been actually transferred, the contract terms and historical transaction chains are highly consistent. Lu Yuan's face turned completely gloomy. What do banks hate most? False transactions, related party capital injections, and misappropriation of financing resources. Zhao Zhiming made all 3 of his bets. Lu Yuan closed the document. Chairman Zhao. The bank will conduct an independent verification of these materials. Until the verification is complete, you are not suitable to continue attending today's meeting. Zhao Zhiming suddenly stood up. Lu Yuan. What do you mean by that? Lu Yuan's tone was cold. Please leave. 2 staff members walked towards the door. Zhao Zhiming's face turned pale, his gaze piercing me like a knife. And Su Wanqing. You will regret this. He slammed the door shut as he left. The moment the door closed, Su Wanqing let out a long sigh of relief. Lu Yuan glanced at me. Mr.Gu. Regarding the authorized trust supervision plan. If the 3 parties can sign a framework agreement today, the bank can continue with the credit approval process. I nodded and replied. Okay. Su Wanqing looked at me. Her eyes filled with gratitude, yet also mixed with unspeakable pain. Her hand trembled slightly as she signed. I handed her the pen, which she took, saying softly, "Thank you." I said, "You're welcome." Her eyes dimmed. Another contractual obligation. I looked at her. This time it's corporate responsibility. She gave a bitter smile. After signing the framework agreement, the bank initially resumed its credit approval process. The crisis of the Su Group was temporarily alleviated. Stepping out of the bank, the sunlight was blinding. Su Wanqing stood on the steps and suddenly said to me, "Gu Yuan. Every time there was a crisis before, you stood by my side like this." I didn't speak. She continued, "But I've never really looked." I buttoned up my suit jacket. "From now on, take a good look." Her eyes brightened. She stood up again. But I added, "Go find someone else." Her face turned pale. I walked down the steps. Qin Yu's car was parked on the side of the road. Just as I was about to get in, my phone received a strange text message. "Gu Yuan. Don't think it's over just because Zhao Zhiming has fallen. There's a clause in the divorce agreement you signed that you didn't notice." I frowned. Below the text was a screenshot of the agreement. Following the property waiver clause, there was a small supplementary note. The signatory confirms and voluntarily assumes all losses to the company caused by personal actions during the marriage. I narrowed my eyes. Zhao Zhiming actually had this trick up his sleeve. If they could prove that the company's losses were caused by me, they could overturn my liability. I forwarded the screenshot to Lin Jisha. She quickly replied, "This trick is too insidious. We must get the original signing process evidence tonight." I put away my phone. It seems the last weapon is still hidden in the divorce agreement. The original divorce agreement had been altered by Zhao Zhiming. The shredder contained a technology waiver statement. But the divorce agreement and equity transfer confirmation were still in the Su family's archives. When Lin Jisha retrieved the original documents again, she discovered a problem. The signature page was genuine, it was indeed my signature. However, the supplementary clause page was from a different batch of paper. This meant that after I signed, someone replaced a few pages in the middle. This seemed simple, but proving it was difficult because the binding edges had been repressed, and the perforated seal had been restamped. And very realistically, after examining it, Lin Jisha's expression turned grave. "Without a video of the signing, it's hard to directly prove the page change." I said, "Yes, I do." She paused for a moment. "You recorded it?" "No." I opened my phone's photo album and found that Zhao Xingzu had recorded it. She looked at it. I opened the backup directory that I had tracked from the smart speaker's cloud yesterday. There was a video inside. The file name was very ordinary. President Su's personal affairs record. In the video, I was sitting in the conference room. Zhao Xingzu pushed the divorce agreement in front of me. That was 3 days ago. In the afternoon, Su Wanqing wasn't there. Su Man was. Zhao Xingzu was there. And there were 2 so-called witness lawyers. In the video, Su Man said coldly, "Gu Yuan. Sign it. Leave some face for both sides." Zhao Xingzu added, "President Su said that as long as you sign, she will forgive and forget and will not pursue your responsibility for being supported by the Su family all these years." I looked at the agreement and asked, "Where is Su Wanqing herself?" Zhao Xingzu said, "She doesn't want to see you." This was a lie. Later I found out that Su Wanqing was giving a roadshow at the time. And he was holding her phone. The video continued to play. I flipped to the property page and saw the leave with nothing clause. I asked, "Was this her idea?" Su Man said, "Of course. Wanqing has been fed up with you for a long time." I was silent for a long time. Then signed. Lin Jisha frowned after reading it. "The video proves you signed under misleading circumstances. But it doesn't prove that several pages were switched." I paused the video. "Please check the page numbers on the form." She leaned closer. The video showed that the property waiver clause was on page 6. The page I flipped to before signing was page 7, which stated no other disputes between the parties. But now, in the original document, the supplementary liability clause also appeared on page 7. Lin Jisha's eyes lit up. "Page number conflict." I nodded. "There's more." I zoomed in on the screen. When I signed, I used my father's old fountain pen, the ink was blue-black. On the original document, my signature page is still blue-black. But on the supplementary clause page, the direction of the ink on the stamp is different. Lin Jisha immediately said, "We can conduct a physical evidence examination." I sent her the video. "Send a lawyer's letter before the divorce proceedings begin tomorrow." She glanced at me. "Do you still want to continue with the divorce proceedings?" "Of course. President Su probably wants to wait until everything is sorted out." I closed my laptop. I won't wait anymore. In the past 7 years, I've waited too many times, waiting for her to get off work. Waiting for her to come to her senses. Waiting for her to trust me. Waiting for her to see me. In the end, I could only wait for a clause that would leave me empty-handed. This time, I won't wait anymore. The next morning at 9 o'clock, at the Civil Affairs Bureau, Su Wanqing arrived before me. She was wearing a beige coat. Her face was haggard. She stood up when she saw me. "Gu Yuan." I nodded. "Let's go." Her fingers gripped the bag strap tightly. "Are you sure you don't want to think about it again?" I glanced at her. No. Her eyes were red. But she didn't argue further. We sat down at the bar. The staff checked our identification. When it came to the division of property, Su Wanqing suddenly spoke up. "The original agreement is invalid, we will sign a new one. Gu Yuan won't leave empty-handed. As for the marital property under my name, I will fully cooperate in dividing his rightful share." The staff member looked up at us. I looked at her too. Her voice was soft. "This is what I owe you. I'm not trying to win you back." I said. "Let the lawyer handle the property matters." She gave a bitter smile. "You're really good at pulling me back into the operating procedure." "No," I said. "Procedure is more reliable than emotion." She lowered her head, remaining silent. Just as we were about to submit the documents, Su Man suddenly burst in. Behind her were 2 relatives from the Su family. She burst in and pointed at me, yelling, "Gu Yuan, do you have any conscience? Wanqing bowed her head and apologized for you at the company. And now you're forcing her to divorce and divide the assets. You're a man. Don't you have any shame?" Everyone in the hall turned to look at him. Su Wanqing stood up. "Mom. Stop it." Su Man retorted angrily. "I am causing trouble. I was saving you. He took advantage of you while you were in danger." She slammed a printed document heavily on the table. "The agreement is written in black and white. He voluntarily assumed the company's losses. Now, because of him, the Su family's reputation is damaged. Financing is delayed. And he won't get a penny. He must pay compensation." Su Wanqing's face changed. "There's a problem with this agreement." Su Man sneered. "What's wrong with it? He signed it himself." I stared at Su Man. "Who gave it to you?" Her eyes flickered. "The document is in the company files. Zhao Zhiming gave it to you. Right." Her face turned pale. Su Wanqing suddenly turned to face her. "Mom. Are you still in contact with Zhao Zhiming?" Su Man said angrily. "Chairman Zhao is the one who benefits the company. Unlike you. You've been blinded by him and can't distinguish right from wrong at all." I took out my phone and played the signing video. The hall was quiet. The audio in the video was very clear. Zhao Xingzu said, "President Su said that as long as you sign, she will remember the past." Su Man said, "Wanqing has had enough of you." Su Wanqing's face grew paler and paler. This was the first time she had heard that I had been forced to sign back then. As the video played to the next page, Lin Jisha arrived and placed the evaluation application materials on the table. "Ms. Su." Several pages in the middle of this agreement appear to have been switched. When Mr.Gu signed it, the supplementary liability clauses were not in the original. "We have already applied for a judicial assessment." Su Man's face turned ashen. "Are you all ganging up on an old woman?" Su Wanqing closed her eyes. "Mom. That's enough." Su Man looked at her incredulously. "You're yelling at me for him." Su Wanqing's voice trembled. "Not for him. But for the truth." Su Man staggered back. Then suddenly burst into tears. "I did all this for you. It's already hard enough for a woman to run a company alone. Shouldn't you?" She pointed at me and said. "Gu Yuan is helping you. He's your husband. He should go along with you. I made him sign the agreement because I was afraid he would hold you back later." After saying this, I suddenly laughed. Everyone was looking at me. I stared at Su Man. So, this is what you've always thought. A husband should be submissive. A man should take responsibility. I should step back. That's how it is. I should hand over resources. That's how it is. I should be misunderstood, humiliated, and kicked out of the house. That's how it is. If I resist, I'm considered tasteless, petty, and ungrateful. Su Wanqing's face was pale. She wanted to say something, but I raised my hand to stop her. Don't defend her. The staff member asked cautiously. Do you two still want to continue with the procedures? Su Wanqing looked at me, tears welling up in her eyes. I said, continue. She nodded. Let's go. Su Man rushed forward to get her things. For the first time, Su Wanqing blocked my way. Mom, if you cause any more trouble, I'll have security throw you out. Su Man was stunned. This was perhaps the first time she realized that her daughter wouldn't always be on her side. After the procedures were completed, the staff member handed over the divorce certificate. The little red booklet was placed in my hand. It was very light, yet it felt like a heavy burden of 7 years had been lifted. Su Wanqing held her share, motionless for a long time. As I walked out of the hall, she called out to me, Gu Yuan. I stopped. She said, from today onwards, I have no right to make any demands of you. I glanced at her. You never have. Her tears fell to the ground. I turned and got into the car. As soon as the door closed, I saw her standing on the steps. Sunlight shone on her. She finally looked like the aloof President Su. But in the end, she was just my ex-wife. On the day the divorce officially took effect, Zhao Zhiming launched his final attack. He joined forces with 2 minority shareholders to demand an emergency shareholders meeting. The agenda had only one item: to remove Su Wanqing from her position as president. The reason given was that her personal marital troubles had led to stalled company financing, ineffective management and supervision, unstable authorization, and loss of public control. Even more outrageous, he planned to push for the hiring of an external professional manager to take over the Su Group. That person was the real manipulator behind Yuan Chen Consulting. If this motion passed, Su Wanqing would lose control of the company, and the authorization I held would be forced to be renegotiated. The night before the shareholders' meeting, Su Wanqing sent me a message: you don't need to come tomorrow. This is an internal matter of the Su Group. I stared at it for a long time. Finally, I replied, I'm not here to see you. She replied with 3 words, I know. The next day, at the shareholders' meeting, Zhao Zhiming was fully prepared. He first showed screenshots of the public backlash, then the notice of delayed financing, and finally the fact that Su Wanqing and I were divorced. Every step was a precise attack on Su Wanqing. Dear shareholders, I once recognized President Su's personal abilities, but recent events have proven that she can no longer separate personal feelings from corporate governance. He looked at Su Wanqing. This president can't even notice her assistant overstepping her authority, and can't even control the core authorization in her husband's hands. How can she continue to lead the Su Group? Some people in the audience nodded in agreement. Su Wanqing sat in the main seat, her face pale, but her expression remained unwavering. She stood up. I admit to management negligence and problems with past authorization management. But Chairman Zhao, you have no right to dismiss me on this basis. Zhao Zhiming sneered. Whether I have the right to do this will be decided by a shareholder vote. He finished speaking and looked towards the door. The external management team had arrived. The door suddenly opened. A middle-aged man led his team in. His name was Du Mingyuan, the nominal head of Yuanshan Consulting. He smiled at everyone as soon as he entered. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe the Su Group needs a more professional and stable management structure. I sat on the observation deck watching the performance. Zhao Zhiming was smug. He believed that by bypassing Zhao Xingzu and changing the shell, he could still take over the Su family. Du Mingyuan opened his PPT. The title of the first slide was Cloud Pivot System Restructuring Plan. I narrowed my eyes. They had already disassembled my system into several modules, preparing to package them into a new company. Su Wanqing also saw it clearly. Her face instantly turned cold. President Du, Who authorized you to draft this plan? Du Mingyuan smiled calmly. This is a preliminary proposal based on publicly available information and materials provided by Chairman Zhao. I stood up. Everyone in the room turned to look at me. Zhao Zhiming frowned. Gu Yuan. You're no longer a shareholder, you're not qualified to speak. I produced the authorized observer notification. Today's agenda includes the disposal of the Yunshu system. I have the right to observe and speak. Lin Jisha stood up. Zhao Zhiming's face darkened. As he had adhered to the bylaws. I walked to the screen and looked at Du Mingyuan. In your proposal, the system module diagram on page 3 comes from the internal architecture document of the Su Group. You claim it's based on publicly available information. Du Mingyuan's smile froze. This is an industry standard deduction. I pressed the remote control. The screen switched. A watermark appeared on the document. Yunshu Core Architecture Diagram. Internal number Y17. Access permission, Zhao Zhiming. Temporarily authorized to Zhao Zhiming. I turned to Zhao Zhiming. Chairman Zhao. Did you give him these materials? Zhao Zhiming's expression changed slightly. I didn't. I nodded. Then President Du illegally obtained trade secrets. Du Mingyuan's expression also changed. Mr.Gu. You need to provide evidence. I clicked to another page. This is the log of Du Mingyuan's team accessing Su's internal testing environment last night. The access account belongs to Zhao Zhiming's secretary. The login IP address came from Yuanshan Consulting's office. Old Han stood up. This account has no right to access the technical architecture documents. This is unauthorized data retrieval. Lin Jisha added. We have collected evidence and submitted a supplementary report to the police. Chaos erupted in the conference room. Zhao Zhiming roared. You're monitoring shareholder accounts, Qin Yu said coldly from the observation deck. This is the system's automatic function to record unauthorized access. If Chairman Zhao hadn't logged in illegally, he wouldn't have been logged in. This remark drew a suppressed laugh. Zhao Zhiming's face turned bright red. Seeing the situation reverse, Du Mingyuan quickly tried to sever ties. Chairman Zhao. We only accepted the consulting commission. If there's a problem with the source of the raw materials, the responsibility doesn't lie with us. Zhao Zhiming glared at him. Du Mingyuan. What do you mean by that? Du Mingyuan took a step back. The second round of brutal competition began. I didn't give them a chance to breathe. Shareholders. I'm here today to announce only one thing. Silence fell over the room. I projected a new authorization document onto the screen. The Yunshu System's 3-year regulatory oversight plan has received preliminary approval from Huadong Bank. The prerequisite is that the Su Group completes its board compliance reforms and eliminates the risks of related party transactions and unauthorized access. I paused. In other words, as long as Zhao Zhiming continues to hold the relevant voting rights, the regulation cannot take effect. And the bank's credit line cannot proceed. This statement was like a bombshell. Several minority shareholders instantly turned pale. They might not care about Su Wanqing, but they cared about money. If the financing failed and the valuation dropped, everyone's shares would shrink. He's threatening you, Zhao Zhiming shouted. I checked the shareholder seats. I'm just stating the contract terms. Su Wanqing stood beside me, finally taking over the situation. Now, the extraordinary general meeting has added another item to the agenda. Before the audit and judicial investigation are completed, suspend Zhao Zhiming and his affiliates' voting rights on matters such as financing, authorization, related party transactions, and management appointments. Zhao Zhiming roared. You don't have that right, Lin Jisha said. Article 19 of the company's Articles of Association stipulates that shareholders must abstain from voting when there is a significant conflict of interest. Su Wanqing turned to the crowd. Please vote. Voting began. Zhao Zhiming tried to win over minority shareholders. But the bank's conditions blocked his path. After the final results were announced, the decision to suspend Zhao Zhiming's voting rights was passed. Because Zhao Zhiming recused himself, the motion to remove Su Wanqing failed due to insufficient votes. And Du Mingyuan's team was escorted out of the meeting room. Zhao Zhiming sat in his chair, looking as if he had aged 10 years instantly. He glared at me. His eyes filled with resentment. Gu Yuan. Do you think you've won just because Su Wanqing won? I put away the documents. I don't need to defeat her. He gritted his teeth. Then what do you want? I glanced at him. I hope that you people will never again use my things as bargaining chips. After the meeting, the police took Du Mingyuan away for questioning. Zhao Zhiming was also restricted from leaving the country. Zhao Xingzu's side completely collapsed. To mitigate his responsibility, he confessed to the entire process, including Zhao Zhiming instructing others to forge signatures, forcing related party transactions, and leaking technical documents. At this point, the entire chain of evidence was closed. Su Wanqing stood at the meeting room door, looking at the mess on the table. She suddenly laughed. A bitter and shrill laugh. I thought that sitting in the head seat would give me control of the company. I stood beside her. She said calmly, "It turns out I never realized the real reason this company was struggling." I said, "It's not too late to see now." She looked at me, a last glimmer of hope flashing in her eyes. She knew what she wanted to ask. But she didn't. Because the answer was already written in my silence. She simply asked, "Will you still come to the company in 30 days? I said, "Not often." She nodded. "Then can I still contact you? Just to talk about work?" I looked at her and said, "Through the authorization committee." The light in her eyes completely disappeared. "Okay." I turned and left. This time, there was no laughter behind me. Only a long silence. A month later, Su's technology announced the results of its rectification. Zhao Xingzu was formally prosecuted for forging documents, attempting to embezzle public funds, and illegally obtaining company data. Zhao Zhiming was investigated by regulatory agencies for related party transactions, leaking trade secrets, and illegal transfer of benefits. Zhiming Capital's business was also suspended by several partners. Yuanshan Consulting Company has closed down. Su Man never came to see me again. I heard that she made a scene at the Su family home, accusing Su Wanqing of being unfilial, saying she ruined Chairman Zhao's relationship for her ex-husband. This time, Su Wanqing did not back down. She moved out of the Su family mansion. She arranged for her mother to move to another house and continued to pay her living expenses, but no longer allowed her to interfere in company affairs or personal decisions. I later heard all this from Lao Han. He said, "Miss Su has changed a lot." After hearing this, I only said, "Okay." Before the 30-day temporary authorization expired, the authorization committee was formally established. The bank, Su's company, and my legal team jointly supervised the process. Qin Yu took over as the technical head of the Yunshu system. Lin Jisha was promoted to chief compliance officer. Lao Han controlled the financial system, finally freed from the pressure from the board of directors and the president. Su's group's financing plan could continue to move forward. The valuation did not rise, but it did not plummet either. This was the most realistic result. At the final handover meeting, Su Wanqing attended in person. She wasn't wearing her usual sharp business suit, just a simple white shirt. She had lost a lot of weight. After the meeting, she called to me, "Gu Yuan." I stopped. She handed me a file folder. "This is the property division plan. The lawyers have reviewed it. I won't fight for your share." I took it. "Thank you." She gave a bitter smile. "Even your gratitude sounds so distant now." I didn't respond. She paused for a few seconds, then took a cufflink box from her bag. "I still want to return this to you." I looked at the box. This time I snapped it. A glint flashed in her eyes. I opened the box and looked inside. Then I said, "These cufflinks were left to me by my father. They were never our wedding keepsakes." She froze. I closed the box. "So, I'm taking them back." She was pale, but nodded. "I understand. I've been thinking about it ever since. Before, I always thought you didn't fight because you didn't care about fame or fortune. Later, I realized you just didn't want to embarrass me." I said, "It's all in the past." Her eyes reddened again. "Can you please stop using that line every time?" I glanced at her. "Then what do you want to hear?" She opened her mouth. "Finally," she said, "I want to hear you curse me." I shook my head. "No need." Tears streamed down her face. "Sometimes, not swearing is the real outcome." She wiped away her tears and forced a smile. "I understand." I turned and walked out. This time, she didn't chase after me. At the elevator entrance, I saw Lin Jisha standing there. She handed me a new project document. Galaxy Technology wants to meet with you next week to discuss cooperation. They want to purchase the license for your new architecture. I took the document. The terms are much better than what the Su Group offered back then. This is an independent technology company. And you control the equity. You don't need to step back. I smiled. Sounds good. Lin Jisha looked at me. Are you finally ready to return to the spotlight? I glanced at myself in the elevator mirror. I was dressed impeccably. My eyes calm. Unlike that night when I was kicked out of the villa. Or that day in the meeting room when everyone misunderstood me. I said, I won't back down. This is where I was destined to be. A month later, I founded my own tech company. It was called Yanchu Technology. Qin Yu didn't change jobs. He stayed with the Su Group. And I didn't poach him. Everyone has their own path in life. Old Han brought a potted plant, saying it was to celebrate the opening. Lin Jisha became our external legal counsel on the opening day. Su Wanqing sent a basket of flowers. The card only had one sentence, may you be bathed in light. I stared at it for a long time. Then stuffed the card into the drawer. No reply. Not out of hatred or resentment. But simply because some roads, once you've walked them, you can't look back at the door you've walked. 6 months later, Zhao Xingzu's trial began. He had lost a lot of weight. In court, he finally admitted to forging signatures, intercepting information, using electronic seals without authorization, and conspiring with Zhao Zhiming to force related party transactions. He said, I just wanted to prove that I was more suitable to stand by Su Wanqing's side than Gu Yuan. The judge asked him, so, you chose to forge documents? He lowered his head. I thought Gu Yuan wouldn't fight back. I chuckled softly as I heard this in the gallery. That was probably everyone's biggest misjudgment. They thought silence meant weakness. Retreat meant no boundaries. And that if someone loved you once, they would always give you a second chance to hurt them. After the trial, Su Wanqing waited for me at the courthouse entrance. She didn't approach. Just stood a few steps away. Gu Yuan. I glanced at her. She said, I just heard what Zhao Xingzu said. I nodded. Her eyes were a little red. I used to think that way too. I didn't speak. She took a deep breath. I'm sorry. I'm not asking for your forgiveness. I just wanted to talk to you properly today. The wind blew across the courthouse steps. People came and went. I glanced at her. She was no longer the proud, stubborn CEO of the Su Group, nor the desperate ex-wife she used to be trying to win back. She was just someone who finally admitted her mistakes. I said, I heard you. Tears streamed down her face. But she smiled. Okay. I turned and left. She suddenly asked, Gu Yuan, will you be happy in the future? I paused. Yes. She nodded. Okay. This time. She didn't chase after me. I walked towards the parking lot. The sun was shining brightly. My phone vibrated. A message came from the new company's team group chat. Boss Gu, Xinghe Technology has confirmed the contract. The client will be in the meeting room at 3 p.m. Everything is ready. I replied. I'll be there right away. The car drove away from the courthouse. In the rearview mirror, Su Wanqing's figure grew smaller and smaller. I didn't look again. Yanchu Technology's first independent product was launched at the press conference that day. The audience was packed with clients, investors, and media personnel. When the host introduced me, he said, now, please welcome Mr. Yuan, the founder of Yanchu Technology. Thunderous applause. I walked onto the stage. The lights shone on me. This time, there was no one in front of me. No one hid my name from me privately. I opened the presentation. The first slide had only one sentence. The real trump card is never the identity given to you by others, but the moment you no longer back down. I looked around and spoke calmly. Hello everyone. I am Gu Yuan. The applause grew louder and louder. I knew that all the betrayals, humiliations, misjudgments, and pressures were now in the past. The Su Group, Su Wanqing, Zhao Xingzu, Zhao Zhiming, they are no longer the main storyline of my life. They paid the price, while I reclaimed my name, my boundaries, my dignity, and my autonomy. After the press conference, I stood alone backstage. There was an unread message on my phone. It was from Su Wanqing. I watched the press conference. You did very well. I stared at it for a few seconds. Then closed the chat window. No reply. Someone called me from outside the door. President Gu. The client has arrived. I put away my phone and pushed open the door. The lights at the end of the corridor were bright. I walked forward step by step. There were no tears from my ex-lover behind me. And this time I had no reason to turn back. I just walked forward.